Welcome to Spiritual Insurgency. I'm Jason Lupo, sitting here with my co-host Aaron Lujan.
Mahalo.
And in today's news, this just coming in from Starbase Texas's X page, becoming a city will help us continue building the best community possible for the men and women, building the future of humanity's place in space. Space-based Texas recently becoming its own city. With the vote that just took place, 97% of the citizens of what is now Starbase Texas voted to approve this new city, allowing the expansion of SpaceX and also the expansion of what Tesla and Elon Musk are doing out of their headquarters in Texas. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
Texas, don't mess with Texas. Sovereignty, self-reliance, Christian stewardship, free market economics, liberty, freedom, guns, stake. It's a state that would encourage this type of activity, right? This is a manifestation of what we've been arguing for, I think, since the Reagan years, which is if you give people low taxes, you give them a lot of freedom, you're going to attract economic growth. And I think this is awesome. So, one for God, zero for the devil. I think Texas is a state that has always operated under a biblical framework of freedom and always encouraging that and always encouraging self-reliance and prosperity. And so we're just seeing the fruits of that. This economic and social experiment proving itself once again.
Yeah, I think that there's an interesting conversation because we always hear about separation of church and state, but which, by the way, if you don't know the history of that, we discuss it plenty of
Oh yeah,
times.
we beat it up, Asler.
Yeah, there's no such thing as separation of church and state in the way that the liberals want to place it. But now we have this business and state, right? We have a company that has essentially created its own city. I think it's really exciting. I think it brings a lot of potential, but I think that also brings quite a bit of potential problems if we have other corporations starting to do this. I mean, Aaron, what's your thoughts? Like, do we allow Fortune 500 companies to just create their own cities?
Well, they've been doing it. Remember Disney? I think Disney has a city in Florida and they Parkland. I don't know, but um, it's an interesting concept, right? Corporations controlling cities. I think maybe this has always been the case, and they're just sort of taking the mask off and revealing that they're going to do it at an official capacity. I would like to think that the motor companies controlled Detroit and Flint for a period of time unofficially, and then look what happened there. So I think if you're going to continue down that path, you have to accept the risk that once those corporations decide to, change course, maybe they have a bad quarter or a bad year. That's literally the entire end of that town. So I just feel like the whole principle of don't put your eggs in one basket kind of fits into this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if this could become just an abandoned wasteland if SpaceX moves out.
I think you should have other corporations, other supporting industries. Like right here in Colorado Springs, we have like 4 or 5 military installations. And we also have, Northrop Grumman. We have a lot of different defense contractors, research firms. There's a new manufacturing company. We have Amazon, major distribution center right around Fort Carson. So, in order to have a successful community, there needs to be other economic drivers other than just one giant corporation. I think it needs to be a plethora of eggs in a basket.
Well, and I don't know if SpaceX is going anywhere anytime soon. Trump administration proposed slashing NASA's budget by 24%. Newly released skinny budget would cancel the Gateway moon orbiting space station and Mars sample return, among other projects. Rumors about impending NASA budget cuts were well founded, it turns out. Trump administration released its proposed 2026 skinny budget today. That would be May 2nd, laying out in broad strokes how it plans to allocate funding across federal agencies in the coming fiscal year. Reports had suggested that NASA would take it on the chin, and that is indeed the case. The skinny budget slashes NASA funding by $6 billion compared to enacted 2025 levels from $24.8 billion to $18.8 billion, a cut of 24%. That would be the biggest single year cut to NASA funding in American history. I think that as we see the starting to whittle down of NASA and the increase in privatization of the space race, and of space tourism and what is going on. I think that there's a huge allowance for SpaceX and what's the other ones that are out there? I mean, there's like
Blue
Blue.
Blue Logic or Blue Beam, I think, is Jeff Bezos,
Yeah, didn't
the book salesman.
didn't Virgin have one too?
Oh yeah. I think it was Jeffrey Epstein Express. And I'm
That go defunct? Is that what it was?
yeah.
Yeah, but I think as the as the government looks to kind of start removing itself from this, the privatization and the private sector are definitely picking it up, and I think for quite a years to come, maybe
Well,
we're going to see this continue to expand.
well, this is good, right? Because allegedly we haven't been to the moon since the 60s. And so if NASA hasn't done anything in 50 plus years, maybe it's time for the private sector to step up and take dominion. I think, yeah, I love the free market idea. I don't understand though why like we're so obsessed with space when people in LA can't get like a sandwich or like get like medication. Like I just feel like our priorities are out of whack.
Well, I mean, I think that for so long, like media has led us to that point that we are so excited about space. I mean, yesterday was May the 4th, right? Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Also, my dad's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Pops.
Yep. Turning 82. Crazy.
That's good work.
Yeah. Staying healthy. I mean, one of the healthiest 82-year-olds I've seen in a long time. So good on you, Dad. But yeah, this whole situation is going to be fun to watch unfold. I think it's really the first modern, even though corporations have controlled cities, it's the first modern city that we've seen come into existence that is 100% one corporation. And I know that they've talked about trying to expand tourism to the area and increasing the amount of hotels that are in that area. This is South Texas. I mean, it's not a huge tourism boom. I mean, I was down in some of those beach towns not too long ago on the Gulf of America.
Yes, that's right.
And
America.
and it wasn't like flooded with tourism. And so maybe this does drive another part of the Texas economy down on the south end of the state.
Yeah, and one thing I want to end with this is we'd be remiss if we didn't say this is a rejection or the proverbial middle finger to the state of California and their leftist policies. Tesla had headquartered in California. This was a California creation. This was a Californication. Sorry, that was awful. But they were forced to leave because they cannot survive in a state where you're being choked with the corporate tax rates and the cost of living for your employees and the endless depravity and crime that just continues to pull down the once great golden state of California. So it's a sad day for the state of California. It's a wonderful day for Texas. Once again, sound biblical economic principles prevail. Shall we talk about Alcatraz, Mr. Lupo?
Oh yeah, I just pulled up the article.
Let's do it.
Unless you have an article, boy.
No, little Alcatraz it.
This from the BBC.
The BBC.
Trump orders reopening of notorious Alcatraz prison. Donald Trump says he is directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, the infamous former prison on an island near San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. In a message on his Truth Social site on Sunday, President Trump said that for too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders. The reopening of Alcatraz, once notorious as one of the U.S.'s toughest prisons, would serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice, he said. Leading Democrats said the proposal was not a serious one. The maximum security facility, also known as The Rock, was closed in 1963, and it is currently operating as a successful tourist site. Today, I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen as a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz, Trump wrote. Prison would house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. President Trump has been clashing with the courts over his policy of sending alleged gang members to a prison in El Salvador. In March, he sent a group of more than 200 alleged Venezuelan gang members there. He has also talked about sending homegrown criminals to foreign prisons.
I think of Proverbs 21:15 that states, when justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers. So a maximum security prison, as public and as boldly punishing as that facility, I think is a good move. I think the church should applaud this, right? Because we are a church that encourages the protection of the innocent, restoring fear of consequences to crimes. I've been there. I remember being there like as a 14-year-old kid on my San Francisco vacation, and that place is wild, man. Like, it just looks like a place you don't want to be. Like the fact that there's sharks in the water, like if you even get the opportunity to swim, you're going to be eaten alive by sharks is just the whole thing. It's also like a public spectacle. It's also like, because it's in the San Francisco Bay, surrounded by like a population. So it's like, hey guys, this is where all the bad kids are over there in the corner, with the dunce hat on.
Well, and we had talked about on Saturday, we had a long talk about Trump's one big beautiful bill.
Oh yes.
And we had to talk about consumer confidence and the direction of the economy. And one of the things that I think that we miss talking about, and the things that are impacting the economy across the country, is the crime. I mean, if you have fear that your business is going to go under because of crime, which I've had a business go under because of crime. I mean, I had an ice cream shop for a year. It got broken into 3 different times. We had a guy fall through a ceiling. I'm not joking.
He really wanted the ice cream, ladies and gentlemen. That's a testament to the ice cream that this gentleman sells.
This guy was so high, he didn't even take the valuable stuff. All he walked away with was coin. He left all of the computers, all the iPads, everything that was in there. He left all of that. All he did was take a couple $100 worth of coin.
Did you get some ice cream?
He didn't even take ice cream.
Oh, man.
And hurt himself on the way down. I mean, it's like absolutely absurd, but that's a small case when it comes to looking at places like Portland, where riots have been allowed to just destroy businesses, in places in Wisconsin, in other cities across America where we've allowed, BLM riots and Antifa to come in and just destroy and wreak havoc on businesses. Not to mention the amount of theft that's taking place, and the fact that our criminal system is no longer charging people with petty theft. They're no longer charging people for shoplifting. It's like they're just letting them off. And we've seen that take place since COVID and before COVID. And so when you have a criminal justice system that doesn't punish those that hurt the local economies and the businesses, you're going to have businesses go under and the economy suffer. And so, I understand this is for the most violent criminals, and we're looking at like, hey, let's take the most violent criminals and send them far away, on a boat so that they have no chance of escaping. Great. But what it also does is when we see that we're clearing up our local prisons and jails, that maybe they can no longer use the excuse that we're not going to prosecute this crime because we don't have a place to put them, which is the excuse that we've been given for so long. The jails aren't big enough. We can't prosecute petty theft because we don't have a place to put them,
I think the first thing, and this is another area of agreement that I have with the progressive left, is criminal justice reform. I think that too many people are locked up for nonviolent offenses that should have the opportunity. Maybe Jason, and I'm open to this if you disagree with me, because I know a lot of conservatives tend to disagree with me in this area, because I think that it's biblical to give people grace and to give people mercy. And I think that when you're in prison due to a nonviolent offense, especially if you were tried as an adult and you're 16, 17 years old, because I don't agree with any of this, let's try a heinous crime as an adult sort of to make a statement, but yet that person is 15 years old. Because Lord knows when I was 15, my brain was not where it is today. I really think that we need to reform the system and empty these prisons of people that deserve a second chance because the system worked against them, not for them. And we should continue to lock up those who have murdered and committed heinous crimes. And I'm talking about drug offenses. Empty the prisons.
I don't entirely disagree with you. And I think when we talk about drug offenses, we're talking about a very wide spread of what we're discussing,
especially possession.
But when we talk about intent to deal because somebody has excessive amounts of marijuana in their car, at this point in this country where it's legal in a good chunk of states, like, yeah, we're probably wasting prison space and resources, the American public, on try and house these people in prison cells. Probably not a good plan. But I also think that when we talk about the fentanyl crisis and what's going on, prison probably isn't the best place for those people. It's probably a rehab somewhere, but now we've basically made it impossible to where we can try to get these people help. Instead, we just let them back out and then pump them full of more Narcan and put them back in a jail cell and let them out and repeat the process over and over.
Good luck, champ.
It's not a very profitable situation from any perspective, from a social perspective, from a law and order perspective, from a criminal justice perspective. We do need to find another solution to the opioid epidemic that we have in this country, and it's probably not throwing them in jail cells where they're getting access to drugs anyways.
Hugging on my mama from my jail cell. That was Tupac. That just hit really hard. That's what I thought. That's how my brain works, guys, when I hear jail cell. Like,
yeah, I'm not, but there has to be a punishment for the crime. And I'm not saying it has to be a jail cell, but there has to be a punishment for the crime. And there has to be a compensation for the victim. And there has to be a way for the victim to be made whole again. And that's not what's happening. And what's happening when it comes to businesses being destroyed by illegal activity for whatever reason, whether it be riots or petty theft or, whatever it might be, there has to be a way to make that business whole. And if we continue to rely on, oh, it's okay, the insurance companies will take care of it, then insurance costs continue to rise. And now businesses have increased insurance rates, and now there's less profitability, less ability to hire employees, and now you have a higher unemployment rate. I mean, the whole thing is, we keep talking about spokes on a wheel, but it's another spoke of the wheel. And while it looks like you're like, Jason, there's no way that's what's going to kill our economy, it's killing local economies 100%. Cities, small cities that had tourism and tourist traffic that got overloaded by criminal activity and gangs and riots and activism, where they had businesses shutter. They lost a huge amount of tax revenue in that city because businesses shut down. They had increased unemployment rate because businesses shut down. It allowed major corporations to come in and replace it, like Walmart and Target, because the small businesses had to shut down. And so, yeah, it may not be what kills the entire U.S. economy, but it's presently killing small city economies across the country.
Small businesses matter, ladies and gentlemen. The deal of the century, the deal of 2025 would be for Trump and the DOJ and Mr. Beast to cut a deal where we do this challenge where we take prisoners and we make them go through these like crazy Mr. Beast obstacle courses. That would actually be red meat for the MAGA base, right? Because it would be entertainment, right? American Idol. It would be, Mr. Beast, would make it cool. It'd be like this really riveting challenge. I don't know. What do you think?
Look, we have a jail system, a prison system, where we're feeding and housing these people for months on end, and there's very little repayment to society, and they're not really doing enough work that will contribute to society while they're in the jails. And other countries have figured this out. The United States haven't, because we have people like, oh no, you can't force them to work. Well, they're living for free. They're eating for free.
On your tab.
On the American taxpayer's dollar. Like, if I know that in Colorado, most of the license plates are produced in our prisons.
Yeah, mine was signed for actually by a really cool criminal. I'm just kidding.
Be nice to know which criminal gave it to you.
Oh.
Which criminal made your license plate.
Yeah, thanks,
but
bro.
Is that enough? I mean, like, could we have these guys contribute to society more? Could we do more with our prison system of those that are going to get out in a year or 2 years to get them back ready to go back into society? I mean, I'm not against hiring felons or against hiring former criminals if they've been redeemed. And I think that's one of the things that we've also failed to do in this country from a biblical perspective is guys that have a past criminal history, when they've come out and they've worked hard, and they are redeemed, like, we've got to allow them to uh, come back into society. And I think for so long we've prevented that from happening. And I think that needs to change when it comes to criminal justice reform. What happens when you get out and you're a new man or a new woman, and not just in Christ, but in general, like especially if they're in Christ, but allowing them the ability to go back into the workforce, I think is huge.
Well, especially when the federal government openly and actively employs active criminals and open gang members like Masonic members, like they should at least allow reform gang members to, rejoin society. Like I think Bush Sr. was one of the world's biggest drug dealers, and he was able to be president of the United States.
Hey, I mean, listen, if you're not caught, then you're not technically a felon, right?
Okay, there you go. There you go.
I mean, that's the problem that we have in our government. Well, this has been Spiritual Insurgency. Join us every day at 3 p.m. We will see you tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. God bless.